Okay, everybody, it's an absolute pleasure for me to present you on one hand a not waterproof tent, which is a little bit strange. So, you know, if water comes from above, it's just to refresh the audience. And I'm even more delighted to present you Arne, who will be your talk master for now. And I think he has some very interesting guests and very interesting questions. So enjoy the. Oh, sorry, I can't spell it. It's Paul. So
yeah, good enough. That's good enough.
Yeah. Okay. So, your host Arne.
So I started the other talk shows that I've had before with just introducing the concept. I know that a few of you have seen it before, so you know what it's all about. But it started at our annual Norwegian event a few years ago. We thought we'd try something else, something different that we hadn't seen in any other LEGO events. And me being a journalist, it made sense that I sort of had a chat show or something that I just sit down and have a conversation with somebody who might have something interesting to say. And the idea is that it's supposed to be contain some of the same information as a presentation would do, if a presentation by one of these people. But a presentation can always be will always become a little bit one-sided. So you'll just sit there and they'll just introduce and talk and stuff. So we figured if it's questions and answers, then it might feel a little bit more like you're just listening into a conversation between two people who are interested in LEGO. So that might be a little bit more entertaining. So we've had some very nice guests. We did this in Norway, I think 3 years now at our event. I've done it twice in Portugal. This is the second time I'm trying it here. And then Jan approached me a year and a half ago about hosting some of the AFOL evenings in the Lego house. So that's also been done in a similar way. So people really seem to like the concept. So, and this is there's a lot more people here than there were last year. So I think it's just I think it's interesting. We've got some very interesting guests. And when people understand what it is, then more people will come, because it's cool people talking about things that everybody here is interested in. So we have 3 guests today. We have 3 different guests tomorrow, and today we have a whiskey expert, a wizard expert, and a guy whose work with the bricks can almost only be described as wizardry. So I think there's 3 W's today. So please welcome on stage my first guest, Gillies. I'll give you this. And then I'll try to, we've got an hour, but nothing is happening after us in this tent. So we might go a little bit over. If you have to go to something else, then please do, just do it quietly. But the rest of you, please feel free to sit through it to the end. I think the interviews, the questions and even more so, the answers will be interesting enough to keep you here. So, welcome to the show, Rod.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. I'd like to start with your nickname, Too Much Caffeine.
Yeah.
What does it mean, and why did you have to be all fancy and spell it with a number 2?
Because TOO was already taken.
Oh,
okay. So no, it was at the time on Flickr. Everyone had an alias, and so yeah, that was just what popped into my head. I think it might have come from. Do you remember the villain in Police Academy?
Yeah.
At one point, he says it's a terrible film. And it's a terrible origin story for Flickr tag, but that's what it was. So.
Okay. My online tag was Lago with an @ which is non-Googleable. So
Brilliant.
very stupid decision. I only discovered that afterwards.
I read it's one of the things I think is great that Flickr now has, and online in general has now moved to real names. Because I think it also drives some better behaviour.
Yes, it's so much easier to put a name to the face, because you don't have to have the tag as well.
Yeah.
I read online somewhere that you got back into LEGO around 2007,
yes.
Which means, when it says you got back into it, means you were into LEGO as a kid. Can you remember your first set?
Not my very first one. I remember playing with, we had a hospital and a police station, set, which I can distinctly remember. All the parts are still at my mother's house. And the first one I remember being given was the first Technic set, so the Technic car. And I can distinctly remember playing that, building that, and being absolutely baffled and confused and hapless with the pins. It was just because it was such a new concept for me. I was used to stacking bricks, and then the pins going through the holes, I just couldn't work it out, couldn't do it. Had to go and get my dad to help me, and I can distinctly remember that. So.
That's cool. So you had a dark age.
Yes.
That lasted quite a while,
yes.
And then you discovered the online Lego community. But it was one particular genre that lured you back. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So it was actually my wife gave me the Mindstorms for my birthday, because I'd been dropping hints that this might be appreciated. And so she gave me the Mindstorms robotics, and I got into that and found the online stuff, so videos, and I built a couple of things, which I then posted on YouTube, and then it generated quite a lot of views. And look at them now, they are terrible, but at the time I think they were kind of cool. And then I discovered the rest of the online community, sort of fell into that. I haven't built Mindstorms for years, and it was steampunk that, building the Victorian era sci-fi stuff that kind of, I just loved doing it, and there weren't an awful lot of other people doing it, and so yeah, it worked for me.
Because your first mock that you posted on Flickr back in 2008 was an airship.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything about the quality of it, but
it was terrible.
And you actually love steampunk to the extent that you started writing books about it.
Yes.
Like real books, novels.
Yes.
Red Mercury, Neptune Rising, Titan's Fire, the Empires of Steam trilogy,
yep.
Which according to one reader came from Mr. Gillies and his dazzling imagination.
Oh.
It says so on Amazon. How?
Yeah, I think I might have known that person. It wasn't me.
No, okay.
No.
How did you become an author?
It's something that I've always wanted to do. I'd started writing over and over and over again, and you get to about 10,000 words. I'm not a great completer finisher, so that whole thing, you get to about 10,000 words and then it's like, whatever. And then...
so your novels are exciting for 10,000 words, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's going to get a bit morbid and dark now. So my father died when he was 42, and his father had died when he was 42. And so I know it's ridiculous, but I had this thing in my head that everything I had to do before I was 42, just in case.
Yeah.
And so actually the year I turned 42, I was like, I've got to write a book, I've not written a book yet. And so I wrote a book. And I'd only ever said, right, I'm just going to write one book and that'll be it. And then, because it's off the list. But then people were foolish enough to say it wasn't awful. And so I was encouraged to do a bit more. So yeah, so I wrote 2 more.
Very dazzling.
And they're not dazzling. Do you know what? They're perfectly alright thrillers if you like that kind of thing. And, I quite like them. But I kind of wrote them for me rather than anyone else.
Which is the most important thing, always. Right after the third novel was published, you found yourself contributing strongly to a different kind of book. Guy Himmer's Steampunk Lego, where about 20 models featured in the book came from you. The only builder with more models in that book is Guy Himmer himself. To me, who is not that much into steampunk, it is a gorgeous book. So what was that experience like for you?
It was brilliant. I mean, for a while, Guy and I, we weren't the only people building steampunk stuff, but we developed a fairly healthy competition. So he wasn't exactly my nemesis. I presume if you're a mock builder, you've got a nemesis. You should have a nemesis. It makes you build better stuff. Pick a nemesis. You don't even have to tell them. Just pick someone that you're my nemesis, and I'm going to beat you. So Guy and I kind of developed this, I don't know, a bit of friendly competition. And yeah, it was. I think it was good for both of us. His stuff is absolutely brilliant. It's very different from mine now. We developed quite different styles, but then when he had the opportunity to produce the book, he asked if I would contribute, and that was, it was great. It was really good fun. It was nice to be able to do some stuff in a slightly different presentation format than just taking photos from online.
And nice to have something in book form that you
It's amazing. Yeah. So,
now we've talked a fair bit about books already, but there's no way around that with you. Your recent project have included several official Lego books from DK.
yes.
The Lego Playbook, Awesome Ideas, Lego Animal Atlas. How did you get into that?
Pete Reed, so the king of the Lego Spacers, he got in touch and said that Darwin Kindersley were looking for some more builders, and asked if I would be interested. And so he kind of put me in touch with him and had a good chat with him. Sounded like good fun, and so I've done probably 1 or 2 a year for the last wee while. So I think I'm up to 9 books, and I've just finished all the models for another 2, which has been good fun.
Yeah,
this summer.
Because the latest books you've done have been different in that there's a couple of Star Wars books and superheroes book where you built pretty much all the models.
Yes. Except the one that comes with it.
Yeah,
that likes to be an official one.
But what is that process like? I know there have been some nerve-wracking quality control meetings with Lego people that it needs to adhere to certain standards in order to go into an official Lego book.
It does, and that's especially at the start of doing that going through that process. When the first couple of books you work on, everything that you do that goes in the books, even if it's not got instructions. Even if it's just for inspiration, and the whole idea is to give kids inspiration to work with the bricks they've already got to build new things. Every single model has to pass pretty much all the same quality control, stability control, got to be legal connections, and so coming in as an AFOL builder who was building steampunk things that were held together with half a stud connection and sellotape across the back of it just for the photograph and all that kind of stuff. And it was very difficult to get into that style of building. Now it's funny. Most of my mocks now are legal in a way that I never thought I would be worried about. But you suddenly get to, I've got to do that, and it just becomes a more ingrained way of building. And you also, for me, I developed a huge amount of respect for the designers, because a lot of the rules, a lot of the techniques that they can't use, and then the really clever and exciting ways that they then deliver the shapes that they want. So it's interesting. And we've had a couple of I describe them as robust discussions rather than arguments, but they're not arguments I could ever win. It's like, no, that's not legal. No, okay.
Because apparently sellotape is not an official language.
No, and blue tack's bad as well.
Okay. Final book question. How does it feel to be at a Star Wars fan convention signing books?
It was astonishingly good. It's the absolute sort of, if my geekery has a Venn diagram, it was like Lego and Star Wars and doing books and stuff, and so got to go to Star Wars Celebration when I was in London, and spent 2 days signing books, and it was just brilliant, and got to see, was very lucky, went to see a guy called Doug Chang, who's the production design director for Lucasfilm, and he did a talk which I then used, things he said I've tried to use when I've been building things or designing things, or also in my real world work, when you're developing creative things. So.
Okay. I want to get back to your building skills, but we have to touch on your affiliation with the Brothers Brick as well. Because you're a regular blogger for them. How did that happen?
They were looking for new writers. They put out a submissions request, and I remember how I felt the first couple of times as literally, just coming out of my dark age, just starting to engage with the online community, and then that the first couple of times a model of mine got featured, and that the encouragement that provided, and it's exciting, and it felt genuinely really nice to be recognised in that way. So the thought of being able to do that for other builders. And I know, it's funny when you're writing for Brothers Brick, because there are so many fantastic builders who bring out fantastic things again and again and again, and so they tend to feature fairly often. But equally, what I love is that when you find something that maybe has 20 views on Flickr and yet is an absolutely fantastic model that millions of people deserve to see, and we are able to provide that audience for great models.
So that's one of your criteria when you choose what to blog, is what is blog worthy and might not have got the audience it deserves.
No, it's not, because is it worthy of feature? Is the be all and end all, no matter who built it, no matter how old it is, because sometimes great models go under the radar for a long time. But yeah, is it worthy of feature is the primary driver of everything. It's lovely when you find something that is new, or a builder who hasn't been featured before and is doing really interesting things. That's fantastic. But is the model worthy of feature? Whether it's a Lego Rockstar, or whether it's a guy who's building for the very first time.
Yeah. You have, in particular, been in charge of the end of the year awards that the Brothers Brick have presented the past couple of years, including the choice of our final guest today, Jonas Kvam, as Builder of the Year 2017. That's a fairly big title to award to somebody.
It is, and we had a bit of debate about it, but we thought, we spend most of our spare time doing nothing but looking at Lego models and evaluating them and saying, is this worthy of being shared and being featured, and is this something that lots of people should see? So I think as a group, and we have a wide, it's not like two guys sitting in a room. We've got what, 15 to 20 contributors. The numbers vary, who all spend most of their time evaluating models and sort of saying, is this a great model that we should be featuring? I think that's a pretty strong group of people to then pick some models and say, do you know what? These are the best things we've seen this year. And what we try to do, which is very difficult, is to make sure that it's not just biggest thing, or it's not, so we try to pick things that are representative of the breadth of the hobby, and all the different genres, all the different building styles, all the different themes, big ones, tiny little ones, everything in between. And I think we're pretty, everyone's got a decent eye, otherwise they wouldn't be writing for the site. And so we think it's a pretty good group of people to make that claim. Now, are we the final arbiters of quality? Of course not. What we are saying is, this is the best stuff that we've seen. And in our opinion, this is the best model of the year, and this builder has knocked it out of the park this year. And again, I think it's hopefully a nod to the people who are at the absolute top of the game.
So you write books and you blog, you even have a job, even though it's about whiskey. And in between, when you can find the time, you build. A lot of steampunk, as we've established, but also other things. And your design process is normally quite simple. Sit down and build. No planning ahead.
No, planning ahead is not my forte. Just ask anyone I work with. I tend to just sit down and pick up bricks and put them together and see what happens. It's maybe slightly different. So it's very different for a show build. So if you're doing a big model, then I will tend to do quite a lot of sketching in advance. The sketches are terrible, and I'm not remotely artistic in that way, but I do quite a lot of sketching and just to get proportions right. But even then, the build can totally change as it is being put together. As you find, I love when you're looking to build something and you're looking for a part, and then you find two pieces connected together by accident that just look interesting, and you're like, ooh, what can I do with that? And suddenly you're building something totally different than what you sat down to build. So yeah, no, I'm a bit haphazard. I'm not very organised.
That's the appealing creative process there. Yeah. if I can get that. In your Flickr portfolio, there is even some neoclassic space.
Obviously.
And what is it with you British guys and classic space?
We're all just chasing Tim and Pete and Jez and Jason. There's for some reason, the classic space, captured the hearts of British builders. For a lot of us, it was our first sets or amongst our very first. There's a very strong community of guys who build that stuff in the UK, and therefore, you're not a proper Lego builder, I don't think, unless you build something in, blue and grey and with trans yellow, screens. You got to do it. It's a sort of rite of passage, and but I mean, nobody comes. In my opinion, there's some absolute rock stars who build in that style, but you got to retry every now and again.
Yeah. Also on Flickr, there's a suspicious amount of pictures of mocks that use particular pieces in various ways. You have participated in the Iron Builder contest 4 times, with 2 victories and 2 losses as results. I should explain to the audience, in case you don't know, Iron Builder is a concept where 2 builders go head-to-head for a month, using one given seed element in as many imaginative ways as possible. How do you respond to such a challenge?
With an awful lot of coffee and not much sleep. It is the single most stressful experience that you can go through as a builder, and every single time I've done it, I've said I am never ever doing it again. It's awful.
4 times.
Yeah. It's
and if you win, you have to, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but the thing that didn't used to be okay, and then but the thing that gets me about it is, it used to be, so the first time I did it, I think in a month I produced, it was something like 9 models. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good innings, you're alright with that, that's not bad. It's now just insane. It's like, anything less than 30 models, you're not trying. And these aren't little small models, people are producing massive things, and so there is, and you're, because you know that you're working, again, competing with someone who's got the same part as you, the horrible thought is you have a great idea for that part.
And
you've got to kind of assume they're going to have that idea too. So then it becomes this burning indigestion to try and get that idea out, but done well and executed as well as it needs to be before they do the same. And a couple of times I was on the verge of putting out, right, get these photos done, I'll get that posted, and it's, I was thinking, this is pretty good. Bang, up comes pretty much the same use of the part by your competitor, and you're like, I can't use this model now. And I've spent hours doing it, and it is the same, I would heartily recommend it. But it is the single most stressful thing that I've ever done as a builder. It's awful.
Flickr isn't your only outlet. Lately you've posted some stuff on Instagram that cannot be found in your Flickr account, like your microscale Edinburgh and the Crate House whiskey distillery from the Isle of Jura. Is that a conscious choice? And if it is, why do you find yourself drawn to Instagram?
So I use Instagram for work. There's a thriving bartender community and whiskey geek community on Instagram, and for work I have to engage with that. So Instagram's kind of essential for me, so I use it a lot for that. And as a result, you become more comfortable with the platform that you engage with the most. I love the photo editing tools. I think they're really intuitive, I think they're very good. What I don't like is the lack of, there's much less of a community feel, certainly on the Lego side than that, so no, Flickr is I think, where, well certainly for me, it's where the Lego community lives. For the, I'm less engaged with certain parts of the community. For example, I don't really spend that much time engaging with the technical side of the community. That's not my thing. But certainly for my, the sort of styles of building that I tend to engage in, it's mostly on Flickr. I hadn't realised I hadn't posted Edinburgh on Flickr. I'll have to do that, won't I? So, But yeah, so sometimes Instagram's just handier, and I'll post stuff on there. But no, Flickr's where the community lives. So.
You just touched on it. Your skills when it comes to presenting your builds, your own builds visually, in pictures are brilliant, and your graphics are quite advanced. So you obviously spend a lot of time on this. Were you good at this before you started building, or is that something that has evolved?
No, you've looked at my first mock.
Yeah.
The photos are awful. The presentation is terrible.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I've tried to do politely from a brother's brick point of view. So getting in touch with builders who've maybe made fantastic models, but the photography is terrible or the presentation isn't great. So and just maybe drop them a note and say, mate, this is a really good model, I would love to feature it, but the presentation's not fantastic or the photography's not great. Have you thought about, and maybe just try and give them some of the simple tips that a couple of people gave to me. So Guy Himber, one of the reasons we became friends was I was bemoaning the fact that I couldn't get good photos, and he basically sent me a bunch of really simple tricks and hints that just made my photography much better. And I know we should be able to say this is a great model, but you know what, if it's photoed on a crumpled bed sheet and the lighting's rubbish and they've used the flash and you can't see the details of the great model, we're not going to feature that. And so I think photography is a basic skill that if you, it makes your building better as well, because the more you share your stuff online, the more people will go, oh, this is brilliant, I particularly like that, and you start to understand maybe the things that make a model stand out. So I think presentation is hugely important, and sometimes I think we underestimate that how important just a really nice photo of the model is if you want to share it.
Yeah. Final question for you, Rod. Your steampunk harbour builds, Edison Landings and Chesterfield, one of them is in the hall. That's Edison Landing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the ship is the same every time. I try to build different buildings around.
The ocean changes a bit.
Yeah. That's not really building; it's just spilling.
Okay. But these are among your most well-known and impressive ones. The big things with lights and lava lamps, instant hits for people at exhibitions, especially if they're moving parts as well.
I'm a sucker for a cheap lighting effect.
If you were given an infinite amount of bricks, is a giant steampunk layout what you would probably build?
Not a layout. I would build a minifig scale version of the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was my all-time favourite book. And one side would be the outside, and then the other side would be cut away with all the compartments, and probably motorised elements and lighting elements. That's my kind of, when you have an idea to build something and it never goes away, even no matter how ridiculous it is. That's my work.
So you should crowdsource that.
Okay,
Well, thank you so much for coming, Mark.
No, thank you very much for having me.